So in a way, you can say just 65,000 people can get an H-1B. Now take that one line further, and approximately only 10,000 people can get a green card from a particular country each year. So whatever you think the backlog is right now, unless anything changes, it's only going to get worse. So every immigrant right now, especially immigrants from India, need to have like a low-key uh, masters in immigration policy and all the different ways that they can make sure that if they want to stay in US, they are able to.
Welcome to the Immigrant Experience in America, an immigrant human library, where we amplify and humanize the experiences of immigrants in the United States and around the world. Listen in as we add another story to our immigrant human library. Hello, listeners. Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Immigrant Experience in America, where we amplify and humanize the experiences of immigrants in the United States and around the world. Today, we have another very interesting guest joining us. His name is Varun Neganghi. And here at the Immigrant Experience in America, we're highlighting all month of May for Asian American Heritage Month. So we're highlighting more men because we've had so many ladies on the show. So I'd like to see if I can find more men. Like, I'm being very deliberate to bring more men on. So I'll try to do that this year. But Varun is from India. He is a partner at EngSim, right? And on LinkedIn, he says, I help immigrants boost their income in 3 ways at Beyond Grad. And he's just launched a course. So we're happy to have him on today. We'll be talking about his journey and as well as what he does to help other immigrants out there. So welcome, Varun.
Thank you for having me, Simone. It is great to be here.
Awesome. So I'd like to give you an opportunity to tell us more about your professional bio and what's going on with you right now.
Yeah. So, like you said, I'm from India. I came to the US in 2010 to do my master's in automotive engineering. And since then, I've been working in the industry as an automotive engineer. Somewhere around year 8 or year 9 into my work experience, I thought that I had spent a lot of money on self-development courses, but my journey of growing my career had been quite lonely and challenging. And I didn't want my fellow immigrants who were coming to the US to feel the same way, which is why I created Beyond Grad, a online website, online business, where I teach people how to boost their income. By people, I mean immigrants, boost their income in 3 ways: either get promoted at work, jump, job jump, land a step up job, and then start earning on the side. And those are the 3 different tracks that I'm helping people with. And I have already created a course on how to get promoted as an immigrant. And then I will potentially make more courses on the other tracks in the coming years.
Very good, very good. Anything personal? I know you're a family man, and maybe a bit about your journey. I think you arrived to the US, but now you're in Canada. Can you speak to how that journey kind of unfolded for you? Because I know there's a lot of international students, H-1B students who come over, and the reality of it is not as people may perceive it to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did move from the US to Canada with my wife and my elder daughter at that time. Since then, we've had a second daughter. So we are a family of 4. I have 3 girls around me, so I'm covered in estrogen, so to speak. But yeah, I moved to Canada because as an H-1B and as an Indian who has his green card under the EB2 category, there is an insane backlog where I don't know when I'm going to get my green card. I joke that I might get my grandchildren before I get my green card. And it is probably very true for the majority of the Indians who kind of fall under the EB2 category. And it is very challenging to do anything entrepreneurial, especially outside our field of study, on an H-1B visa. So I took the decision to move across the border. I was living in north of Detroit, and Detroit is at the border of US and Canada. I chose to go to the other side of the border on a Canadian PR. Now I can work on H1, but I can also have my entrepreneurial projects that I have on the side.
Okay. And things have been going well. You've moved up in the immigration side of things and you're more settled with your family, right? You don't have to be concerned about waiting forever for a green card because you've achieved that on the Canadian side.
Yeah, I have. The the advantages have been just relaxed mental security of not being worried to be on H1B. And even though I'm at a position in my job where I can see like a layoff or a bad time for my company coming from a mile away, not a
Yes.
lot of immigrants have that luxury. And once you are laid off or fired from your job, you just have 60 days to find a new one. That brought some mental insecurities for me. My wife was dependent on my visa. So that was another dependency that I didn't care for. So now we are on the Canadian side. I have a PR, she has a PR, and then we are actually in line to get a citizenship after having lived here for more than 3 years, whereas the whole process in the US is still quite in limbo right now.
Right, right. And when you say PR, you're referring to, for listeners who are wondering, it's permanent residency,
Permanent
right?
residency, which is equivalent to the green card in the US.
What color is it?
Oh,
Ours is
it's
called
it's
green, but I don't know.
white and red, I guess, like the Canadian flag.
Oh, it's white. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, very interesting. I don't think I've seen one ever. But congratulations. I mean, you've launched your course, you got your permanent residency, your wife as well, experiencing much more emotional stability and everything else, and things are falling into place. So that's a good story for people to know that it is possible when you leave your birth country, venturing out for study or better job opportunities, that there
Mhm.
it's people do make it happen, right?
Absolutely. And I think those of us who came in 2015 or before 2015, we had the luxury to just land in the US and figure it out. Whereas now, with the amount of backlog that is on the H1B, forget even the green card, which is a step beyond H1B, the
Right.
new international students unfortunately don't have that luxury. They need to have like a low key PhD in immigration policy in the US to kind of figure out what their options are if they can't get through the H1B lottery. What are their entrepreneurial dreams going to be? How are they going to be affected if they can't get the green card quickly? So they don't have the luxury that we came with. Uh, I would have wished a lot of immigrants in my age also talk about this, where we would have come with more of an open eye on what it would look like 10 years after being here. You come with a lot of chutzpah, you come with a lot of zeal in a new country, thinking you'll figure it all out. Unfortunately, I don't think the international students who are coming now or young immigrants have that luxury. And I'll just give you one stat is the international students coming to the US have been over 900,000 per year for a lot of years.
Whoa, just international students,
Just
not even
international
other
students.
categories of immigrants. Whoa,
No,
I had to look that
and
stat up. Wow.
exactly. And but then the H1Bs given out per year, only 85,000. And on the top, the 20,000 on the top of that 85,000 are just people who are coming here for their master's program. So in a way, you can say just 65,000 people can get an H1B. Now take that one line further, and approximately only 10,000 people can get a green card from a particular country each year. So whatever you think the backlog is right now, unless anything changes, it's only going to get worse. So every immigrant right now, especially immigrants from India, need to have like a low key masters in immigration policy and all the different ways that they can make sure that if they want to stay in US, they are able to.
Right. And when you say a low-key PhD, you're basically saying, in layman's term, be well read on the topic, do your own research, talk to people, find out avenues that you can possibly make it through this, whatever your goal is, right? You really have to just
Absolutely.
stay reading and stay on top of the laws and the changes because they change all the time.
Yeah, an analogy I can use is for personal finance, if you want to get better at personal finance, you can look at 3, 4 videos and get some information from it. That's what we did. Watch some 3, 4 videos and we landed here. But now if I want to do personal finance and things are difficult, I might need to read 5 books on it or follow 5 people on LinkedIn who are writing daily about this topic. That's the intensity with which you need to tackle this problem.
And the fact is, I just heard it recently on the National Public Radio, NPR, that India, I don't know if it's official yet, but I think the UN was reporting that India surpassed China as the country with the most population, right? The highest
Yeah,
population in the world.
yeah. We knew that day was coming. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us who come here from India kind of are in a weird place where we feel really proud about our country, where we think that okay, that's going to be the place where the next development is going to happen, or where the next, at least a superpower table, or a country that is going to be at the table known as a superpower. That's where it's going to happen for India. And we are here. So it kind of is a mixed feelings, but really proud of what's been happening because there's a lot of young population. They are very entrepreneurial, very much have a go-getter attitude. And in a way, we've had democracy for many, many years now. Whether it's flawed democracy or whatever you can say, that democracy has been really important in helping us get to this point as well.
Speaking of India, what part of the country are you from? Like, give us a bit about what life was like for you before coming to this part of the world. You know, food that you ate, what part of the country, language you speak, and, you know, what is it like? I've never been to India. It's been on my list. I really want to make it there because I love Indian food, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But I hear there's a coastal part that's just lots of coconuts and spicy food. And of course, I'm looking forward to visiting one day.
Yeah, it is very cool. You can think of India as like Europe. We are a country of a lot of different cultures, a lot of different languages. Like if I come from a city called Mumbai, which is in Maharashtra, the regional language is Marathi. But if I go one state north, one state south, and one state on the east, the language changes completely. I'm not talking about dialects. I'm talking about like a change in language. So it's like Europe. We are very diverse in terms of our languages, cultures, religions, everything. And our strength comes from diversity. But being in Mumbai is like the New York equivalent. It is the melting pot. Like New York is the melting pot for the whole world. Mumbai is like the melting pot for everybody from India, all the cultures, all these people. So I saw a very cosmopolitan upbringing while growing in Mumbai, schooling in Mumbai, and my parents were atypical in the sense that they were very forward thinking. They didn't put a lot of pressure on me when it came to my studies. Sports was always encouraged. I've danced all through my schooling system. Taken acting classes, which not a lot of parents kind of encourage back home. And so I had a very different upbringing, as I would say, which is not stereotypical Indian upbringing. And that gave me a lot of confidence in my life, even before coming here. I was culturally to a point where I could relate to everybody in America easily because my friends would joke that my parents were American, being in India. They were like an American parents. That's what we saw in pop culture, and they were like, "Dude, your parents are like this." So I had that kind of an upbringing, and again, in a city like if you are from a New York type environment, you have a different mindset and different level of confidence. And I think Mumbai, I am grateful for that about my city. It instilled a lot of confidence and go-gettership that I've been relying on ever since I've been here.
Right. And I had another one of your friends slash colleagues, Aditi, who was
Yeah,
on and kind of gave us a bit about her international student experience and so forth. And so I'm thinking that Mumbai is kind of like New York, where you have like a bit of food from all over the country, like lots of street food, lots of little corner shops where you have really good authentic food. Is that
yeah.
kind of like what you're saying?
Exactly. Street food is a culture. You can get the same dish on the road for 10 rupees and you can go to like a fancy restaurant and pay 100 rupees for the same dish. And it's pretty good in both ways. I mean, yeah, you need the experience maybe changes, but that's the culture in Mumbai. And I am part of like a community called Gujarati. We speak a different language. We are a little entrepreneurial in our lifestyle. When it comes to food, that's our life. So we love food. We love enjoying with our family, and we love eating sweets. So that's the culture that I'm from.
Okay, okay. I think I interviewed someone before and I'm remembering slightly. I think it's kind of like the part of the agricultural part of the country, right? You guys are
Yes,
big farming and lots of healthy eating. Are you vegetarian, vegan?
I am vegetarian.
Okay, right. That's what I was remembering from that. Lots of spices and
Yeah.
seasonings and so forth.
Yeah,
Very
spice is the kind of essence of Indian food. And I don't mean spicy as in hot. I mean like just a variety of different spices which are flavorful.
right. So I'm thinking cumin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, what's the other one that's kind of like in Jamaica, it's curry powder, but you guys use the root of that. What's the name of it? It's yellow. I can
Turmeric.
turmeric.
Yeah, it's
Right. So
all the
there's
rage.
tea,
It's all the
there's
rage right now, which is surprising.
I'm sorry.
It's all the rage right now, like in the fitness industry, and
Yes.
every Indian auntie is like, we know this from so many years.
Right. But I suppose the folks with the money have finally caught up to it.
Right.
Right. It's kind of like when quinoa came out on the
Yeah,
market a few years ago and people had been eating it all along, but all of a sudden it's this hip fad thing, right? Everybody's buying quinoa. So now turmeric is the same thing. No, but we've
exactly.
been using it forever. We make it into
Yeah,
our own island curry. We
yeah.
use it, actually, the powder from the store to just use it to season our foods. And we also
Hmm.
drink the tea. And we
Hmm.
always knew that it was quite healthy to do so.
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised to hear how much Indian influence is on Caribbean food, like rotis and stuff like that. I was pleasantly surprised to hear that because as an avid cricket fan, I enjoy all the West Indian players. So to know that West Indies or the island countries have had influences from India as well, it was like a great pleasant surprise for me.
Oh, it is. It is because there's an Indian in the history of the countries. I guess after, I mean, no, it's no surprise after slavery there was indentured labor that came over from India, and then
Yeah.
there's some folks that come in the more recent years as like business owners. Like jeweler, they have jewelry stores. The Chinese do
Mm.
the grocery stores, is what I've noticed, and then but
Mhm.
Indians I tend to see like in the healthcare field, like
Mm.
doctors or,
Mm.
and a few grocery stores I've noticed on the island. So there's a big influence on the food. It's kind of like this fusion of like the
Mhm.
African, Chinese, Indian, and Assyrians actually also came to the island. So it creates quite a very interesting blend. Nothing like it to me. Yeah, I know there's a lot of people who love Jamaican food, but yes, nothing like it to me. I'm looking forward to an upcoming trip where I could just be like, ah, in the middle of all of that. Moving on, talked a bit about India then. So, what was your experience like, Varun? Like, coming over as an international student, living in the
Mhm.
US and trying to find your way. I know I see a lot of Indians here. So, I know
Yeah.
the numbers seem kind of daunting. Like, there's so many people in the pipeline, but I see a lot of Indians around, like in the DC area, in the big cities, in like Atlanta area. There's still a lot
Mhm.
of you guys. So I imagine you had somewhat of a support system, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The university that we came to, I was first of all surprised to hear that the suburbs in the US, you need to have a car to survive. Without a car, you can't survive because there's very limited public transportation. But we had such a great alumni system for Indian graduates that the seniors would have like an Excel sheet, then they would give us rides back and forth from colleges. All the seniors who had cars, they would give us rides to grocery stores. So when we came here, we were again very grateful for the University of Michigan Dearborn. Our club is called Indian Graduate Student Association. They were awesome at helping us get acclimatized to the culture in the US, the way people move from point A to point B, which is just mainly by cars. And it was surprising. One example I'll give you is that I had hair back then. So when I wanted to go for a haircut, I had to ask a senior to say, "Hey, are you thinking of going for a haircut anytime soon? Then I can tag along." And it was a weird experience for me because in Mumbai, if I had to go to my haircut place, it was I could use my bike, I could walk, I could take the bus, I could take the rickshaw, or I could take a cab. There were so many options. I was so more independent. But that was an example of how life was. At the beginning, it was a little bit tough being coddled all my life because we stay with parents, grandparents. So we never have to do a lot of the household chores. And in India, I came from a middle class family, but we were able to afford a lot of help with like cooking and cleaning. So I've never had to do any of that. And suddenly now you are at a point where you have to do every single thing, which was an awesome experience for me. At the same time, it was difficult to kind of get the groove of, but my respect for my parents and the help that the support staff that we had just grew multiple times because now I could actually experience how much effort goes into each and every small household chore, even.
Oh, very good. And as a man, oh my gosh, I think all the ladies are gonna love that, right?
Yeah.
I spoke to somebody who's originally from Nigeria, living in the UK and temporarily in Germany. She said the same thing because when she's back home, they have helpers and things like that. But then when she's in the UK having her children and working, she did it all. She went to work, she drove the children everywhere, she was cleaning her home. And I mean, it's this, yeah, I can relate to that too. But you learn so much, right? And you appreciate all the effort that your community put in and so forth. So it's quite eye-opening for people who are, thinking that you're coming over here. It's not a
Mhm.
bed of roses. This is a place where you have to put your hands to the wheel, as they say, and roll your sleeves up and get to work.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If there is no other choice, there's no other choice. You have to do stuff.
Right. Very good. Very good. So we talked a bit about the challenging situation of the immigration. Were there any other challenges that came along outside of the immigration and then finding transportation? Luckily, you had the support through your Indian community. But were there any other challenges like culturally adjusting to a different world? Like you said, like you were able to just move around seamlessly in Mumbai. And now all
Yeah.
of a sudden you have to depend on people. Like the reality of that is, is real.
Yeah, absolutely. In my in my graduate studies, so I'm just talking about things I'm not haven't started working yet, but in my graduate studies, I think the courses came a bit easier to me. I was able to cope up with the education system and the way assignments were graded, the way tests were given. They were a lot more in a zone that I liked, which was application based rather than just mugging up data and mugging up texts that a lot of theoretical subjects in India tend to be. Things have changed a lot lately. So that part was easy. I think the other challenging part, I would say, was to be myself, just being myself in school. So when I am with my crowd, it was very easy to be myself. But when I was in, let's say, a Formula SAE team, which is like a student body at the university, we make race cars and drive that across the US. It was a lot more challenging to be confident in my voice. I'm not
Mm.
saying confident in the language. I think I came in very much acclimatized to the American way of speaking. I never put on an American accent or code switched. I didn't feel the need to do that, but I don't judge anybody else who does that as well. But to be confident in my voice about, okay, I think I know this, or I think I can do it, be confident in my skills was challenging for me. But again, I think the more you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, the more the uncomfortable becomes comfortable. So I was able to finally get there, but that was another challenging part.
Yes, yes, yes. I can imagine. Interestingly, I was listening. May is Mental Health Month, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you hear a lot of talk about mental health issues. But for me, I have really been reading a lot about the immigrant experience and things that we go through as immigrants, when
Mm-hmm.
we leave our birthplace or that place where we were naturally, just organically easy to move around in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Seamlessly. But when we come to a new place, there's a lot that happens to us mentally, right?
Mm-hmm.
One big thing is that they talk about imposter syndrome, where you don't really feel it's difficult for you to just kind of feel like you're worthy of being in this new environment and really showing up as your authentic self. It can be really tough for a lot of people. And
Yeah.
sometimes it takes time for you to build up that confidence that you need, right? So
Yeah.
I completely get that. There's a lot of things that immigrants deal with that is not being highlighted and spoken of. And that's why we exist as a podcast, is to talk about it.
Yeah. It is, I wouldn't say sad is not the right word, but it is unfortunate that when we are coming here, we look for a lot of external validation. It can come through grades, it can come through professors, it can come through your teammates in other student organizations. It definitely comes through from your managers and peers at work. But that external validation is something that I think a lot of us need at the beginning. And if I can, another reason why I am starting Beyond Grad is to give confidence to people like me that when I see the kind of work that immigrants do and produce at the workplace, I think we need to be more confident in how we portray that work and then just have that self worth that we belong. I want people to get that earlier in their careers as compared to when we got it in our careers uh, while working, slogging, and all of that. I want to meet them earlier and say, dude, you're doing great work. You need to be more confident. You need to have that self belief that you belong in an American work culture. And in fact, you can thrive in it.
Yes. And as our previous conversation brought out, those soft skills that it's kind of we as immigrant, we focus on like other things, right? The
Yeah,
house and the
yeah,
car and supporting families and savings.
yeah,
But it's important for personal development that you really grow yourself and deal with whatever issues you may be having. I can imagine anxiety is a big issue in the immigrant community that a lot of people aren't talking about.
yeah,
Anxiety about living in a new place, like you have an accent and how do you thrive here with that accent?
yeah,
Figuring out the whole system, a lot of unspoken rules,
yeah.
trying to figure out as you navigate here. So there's a lot there regarding those soft skills that you're really trying to tap into, help people to, invest in that. It's really important for you to get that confidence as you're referring to right now.
Yeah, and it's not something that we talk with each other about. We don't share our anxieties. We might chat a lot about which stock to invest in, but we don't chat about why we are not growing in the workplace and what we think is the challenge, or what effect immigration is having on us. Even when we meet as friends, we tend to chat a bit more, which is about fun things. We rarely go into things that are a bit more heavy, but then leave us with those heavy feelings just within ourselves and within our small family. So I don't know what the answer to that is, but I definitely see it as a thing that all of us go through.
Yes, definitely. And there's me, there's you, there's DT who's starting her own support group. And there's several other people who are out there who are coming into this immigrant experience space and really trying to provide support. I've met a few therapists, one specifically that I learned about yesterday, who specifically address like some of the issues that first generation immigrants go through. um,
Hmm.
it's challenging and it can really take a hit on your confidence and the way you show up as your authentic self. And I understand why some people might rush to assimilate faster because they want to feel accepted, and it's not easy to feel like you're this other in this
Right.
other box, right? And that
Right.
you're not a part of or you don't belong here. You're foreign, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a non-citizen, you're a
Yeah.
foreigner. It's not an easy feeling. And so, but I think immigrants provide so much value and energy and innovation wherever
Yeah.
we go because we have a goal when we move for the
Yeah.
most part.
We are driven. We are driven by our aim, which is why we are here. And we are driven also by our fears, which is why we are working a bit more than somebody who does not have that fear. Like somebody who's a citizen does not have the fear of being left out of a job and having to sell everything that they've built and go back to their home country. If somebody has that fear, it's going to drive them further to make sure that they are able to keep their journey moving forward. So that the aim as well as the dog running behind you kind of helps us go further, faster, and be more driven in our work as well as everything outside of work as well.
Join us again next time for part 2 of this episode. We thank our listeners around the world and we appreciate your continued support as we build our human library. Please remember to give us a 5-star review, subscribe, and share with your friends, family, and circle of influence.